Colleen, could you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please, could please have a roll call?
Bryce?
Here.
Butsu?
Here.
Eschman?
Here.
Ward?
Here.
Hayden?
Present.
Robinson?
Here.
Tornica?
Here.
Thank you. And item number 4, we have our agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next up, we have the approval of the council minutes from 2 different dates. That would be February 25th and March 11th. Let's start with the February 25th, please.
I make a motion to approve the council meeting minutes of February 25th as presented. Support.
Motion by Councilman Hayden, support by Councilman Butsu. And can we have a vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I had made a recommendation early this morning, I guess. The public comments, just to strike, just to end after council and strike the rest. Page 6. Page 6.
Was there a public comment like that? Why take
Yes.
that out then? Page 6.
Okay.
I guess I'm looking for more feedback, more questions, more comments on it, more thoughts on it.
I'm sorry, what was you're asking to have it omitted?
Just end at council. And strike the rest. That's all we need to say.
Oh, I see.
Does it hurt to have what they address the
It's-
council on?
It's not necessary, you just say that they address the council.
What's the concern about including the additional detail?
That's not how proper minutes are written.
Less
And
is
that's
better,
per-
I mean,
I
from
went
that.
to training, that was, Bill and Tanya were there as well. It's, you don't put all that in there.
I'd like to hear your view then, Tanya, if you went to the training. What do you think?
Well, I don't think, necessarily addressed it. I guess if we're going to go through, we have to go through all of it. We have to be consistent. Either we're going to have the topics in there or not have the topics in there on all of them. But by looking at what else is in, I don't see a problem with it the way it is. I mean, I don't think we would talk about, if we said water or whatever, or a street or a sidewalk, we would still list the street or sidewalk, and that would be it. We wouldn't go into detail about it. I don't see it. But like I said, it's a group consensus, what we feel is
Was there
best.
specifics
Let me
on what
know.
issues that were talked about?
I think if I remember correctly, it was, the concern was that they would like us to have information before we make a decision on the topic, was what I think the conversation was, from what I recall.
It was regarding marijuana. It wasn't just a topic in general, it was about marijuana. But based on the attorneys and based on the presentation, we go to training to learn and to better ourselves, and it's not necessary per the legals. Three lawyers have presented it.
Basically, it's someone's
just
personal
something we don't
opinion.
need to put in there.
Whether it's, needs to be documented, who knows.
Yeah, what the lawyer said, if you have like 7 people stand up basically, and even if they address different subjects, what you should reflect in the minutes is 7 people address the council, period.
Period.
Shouldn't-
So this resident address council,
Shouldn't
period.
do the council.
As
shouldn't-
long as that is, yep, going to be our consistent, that's great.
Well, then we should start now then.
Yes,
Yep,
because we get educated.
all right.
So you need to amend the motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Amendment.
Do I need to withdraw the current one, or
No,
make a
just-
second motion to
Just make a
amend it?
motion to approve them as amended.
Okay, I make a motion to amend the previous motion to read, approve the minutes as amended.
And I'll second that.
I think
We
that's the
still got
proper
it.
You
way.
need a second.
You
Yep,
got some
all right,
amendment.
let's do.
Then you need to vote.
So let's go back with, we have a motion on the table by Councilman Hayes, supported by Councilman Batsu. Any further discussion? All right, and can we have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have our March 11th minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Support?
All right. Motion by Councilman Ashman, supported by Councilman Hayden. And any further discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call vote, or I'm sorry, can we vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Item number 6 will be the acceptance items, and we have our building department report, our ordinance violation report, and the board minutes from the planning commission. I'm sorry, they did not meet. The DDA and the Brandon Township had met, but we do not have the minutes in hand.
So I'd like to comment on one of the acceptance items. I normally we blow right through those, but reading the Ortonville Downtown Development Authority minutes, there were 2 items that I thought, I think needed more clarity. Number 1 is disbursements, similar to what we do on the village council. We have line itemed out what we spend our money at, and I don't see any line item expenditures as to what they spent the money on. So I'm thinking from a DDA coming and presenting to council, being that we do support the DDA, that there should be at least some line item on what they're spending. And then second to that, there's another one, business to come before the board. They made a resolution on the bank authorization use, which the resolution's not there. So basically, it's saying they made a resolution for some bank authorization, and we don't even know what that is. So to me, I mean, if you're going to make something from a financial perspective, we should know what that resolution is or was.
Okay.
A point of order, if we want to discuss that in more detail, should this be removed from the consent agenda and discussed
It's
separately?
not a
then?
consent agenda item,
It's an
it's an
acceptance
acceptance
action.
item.
Oh, acceptance
And
item, okay.
Mr. Eshman, trustee Eshman just pointing out a message that I should carry back to the
Okay.
DDA.
Right, I was just going to
Thank you.
say, I would love for you to reach out, but
Yep.
just so you do know, it says board resolution, that was the DDA board. I don't know if you thought it was our board, but
No,
that
it's
was
the
a DDA
bank, the
board
bank
resolution.
authorization use resolution.
Right, but I didn't know if you saw board, it's their board. So their board, it was a board resolution for their use of, for the board to utilize their bank. So
Yeah,
I know
I
that
guess
would be
I-
something you'd contact them to see
Again,
about a
what
copy
was
of.
the it says use, the resolution as presented, and I don't see any resolution here. I'd like to see the resolution.
All right, well,
I'm
I,
sure those are all documented under FOIA so that they're
Yep.
accessible somewhere.
They're in the package, so it's just a
Right.
matter of getting them to you and send them to
Okay.
you.
and just,
All
yep,
right.
send
All right.
Matt an email, and I know he's out of
Thank you.
town this week, but he's absolutely available.
Thank you.
I've probably got a copy on my desk.
All right, next up, we have our disbursements.
I have a question, and Bill, I don't expect you to know the answer to this right away, but it seems to me like we're spending a lot more and more and more money on heavy equipment repairs, and so I'd like to know, of the heavy equipment that we have, how much money are we dumping into these machines versus, buying something outright? I mean,
This was an interesting one, the Crawler Park one, initially we spent It's like $3,000, $3,900, but
$1,000
1,000 of
comes
that
back.
comes back when they return to core, which we have already, so that's coming back. But we had, in fact, on this one, to replace that tractor, you're talking probably $100,000.
Oh, really?
Unless you find one new. We had got some estimates, and I'm struggling for the technical term, but basically you'd have to pull the hubs off the front end on this thing and send them out to be welded. The estimates we got for that was close to $5,000. So Bob was able to did some research and found this where we could replace the whole front axle and extend the life of the tractor for about $2,900, and everything's basically brand new in the front end. The bad thing about the tractor is, and when eventually down the road when we replace it, is we probably ought to think about what type of tractor we buy at that time, because these typically, those backhoe front end loader type tractors are designed to pick up on a trailer and take them where you need them and then do the work versus kind of driving around town. We're small enough that, hopefully we can push it out another. I think 2001 when you bought the tractor, and, it's in great shape other than, so hopefully we can push
Okay.
another 10 years out of it.
All right. Yeah, I'm just recollecting that we're spending a lot of money on
Yep.
equipment, and that's where I brought that question up there.
Yep. Nope, you're right in asking that.
We can discuss it later. I just have a question. It's not about the cost, but on item number 7, the 3 retests, if we have the results of those back.
Yes,
Okay.
they were far, far below. I mean, they were like, I think, 56, 62, and 70 something, which when we had sent them out to retest, they were over 300.
Okay, great. And then number 25, I'm assuming that we've returned that course, we have
Yep.
that $1,000
That's what he
back.
just said, yep.
Yep.
And then I just would like to make a point of interest to the residents. This is referring to number 24, the DTE Energy, the lights, the street lights that we replaced. We have a savings year-to-date of $7,382.
Nice.
So that's been a great return on our
That's
investment.
awesome.
Yes.
So I just want to point that out and have that noted, please. And also on number 21, if we could just include the breakout. I believe we've asked for this in the past, just a breakout of what each of those items are, that total that amount. That's it.
Pass them down.
All right. You're just waiting for me to ask this.
Set that trap and the bear
It's like, who this?
If there's any question on these, let's
Where to go, Bill? That's nice.
break it down enough.
That's awesome, thank you.
So how come you didn't give them to us earlier? Is it-
'Cause
you
I
said-
wanted
you
you
said-
to
Yeah.
Because it's like, we'll see if they ask for it twice, and then we'll
Yeah.
do it.
Ah, I see, okay.
Any more questions on our disbursements?
One thing, I'm assuming that items like the tractor are going to be incorporated, if they are not already, into the capital improvement plan that we're
Yep.
developing. And then the other comment, and this is, I don't want to jump ahead, but I did notice that there was additional detail attached in the treasurer's report. Is there a possibility in the disbursement that, to make it easier to match up with that report, that we could maybe add a column for the check number? Because it seems that everything has a check number in it in the other
Keep in
documents.
mind, like we said at the last meeting, the disbursement report is different
Yes.
than, because the treasurer's report is a month-end report, so that
Yes.
covers February 1st.
But this way, we
to the
could match
28th.
up to the treasurer report, the disbursements listed in there to this one, and we could match it up by the check number.
Balance it out.
So if somebody
Yeah,
had
bump
questions,
that
they
up, that'd
could
be cool.
cross-reference and go back and forth between the two.
I
Because
guess
right
I'd
now,
ask-
there's no
I'd ask
cross-reference
Liz.
between this to the other.
Can
Maybe
you
just add a
look
column
in-
I
check number?
would love to do that for you.
Okay.
Thank you, great
That's-
answer.
that's the one.
That's perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
What else can we ask for?
Any other questions on disbursements? Anybody?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the disbursement report for March for a total of $20,780.96.
Support.
further questions? All right, so we have a motion on the table by Councilman Eschman, supported by Councilman Skornicki. And can we have a roll call vote on that, please, Liz?
George,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Veronica,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes?
Watson.
Yes.
Ashman.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries 7-0. And we have the treasurer's report, which is item number 8.
I just had a question on direct deposit costs.
Yeah.
What what type of, is there some bank fees or something associated with direct deposit then?
$25.60.
Can I entertain a motion?
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
Support.
Any further questions on that?
I do have a question. Looking on the treasurer's report, 2/11/2019, for $248.40. Just curious what Ortonville Liquor Store receipt is for.
What, I'm sorry, where is he at?
It's on, it's this, the page immediately following the, her cover sheet.
February the 11th.
And it's
was-
pretty much right in the middle.
Okay.
What was the amount?
Oh, at the liquor store?
The Ortonville Liquor Store for $248.
That would be a tax
Got
payment.
it.
It was a tax payment,
Yeah.
okay. It said cash receipts, I wasn't sure what that
Yep.
was.
Receipts, oh, okay, yeah.
All right.
Well, no.
Party.
Okay, so-
That was in receipts. We
Oh, we knew
received
who it
money
was
from
then.
them.
Any other questions on that?
Well, it's like,
No, it's a good question.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilman Hayden, supported by Councilman George. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 9 will be our public comments, and those are on agenda items only. Is anybody interested in sharing anything with us? Agenda items only. All right, thank you. Item 10 is our consent agenda. We do not have anything in that for March. So we will move on to item number 11, which is our trustee reports, our trustee committee updates. So, Mark, would you like to start down there?
Chief Quappus is here, so when we get through with discussions here, he's going to address something that's cool.
Thank you.
In Parks and Rec, nothing really new. I do remind council that at some time in the relatively near future, we'll be looking at their master plan, but nothing on that so far.
For the Planning Commission, we did not meet in February. As you know, the council is still working on reviewing the master plan, and until we have that finalized, I'm not sure how much new business the Planning Commission will have until that's ready.
As far as the roads go, there is work on Mill Street on the drain project the guys have been working on now. Are you contracting that out, Bill? Part of it?
We did the annual spring cleaning of the drain, so you probably saw a jetting crew in here, and they charge us the same amount whether they do just the hill. So we had them go around the village and utilize the time that they would have charged us, so we're not, hit and run thing. But that crock, eventually, we're doing the work. Eventually, maybe 10 years down the road, you'll want to replace that crock, but we're doing that internally, fixing it.
All right, and then I just wanted to comment, I know we're coming out of the winter and the freeze thaw is going on and the frost is still coming out of the ground, but during that time, there's blacktop being pulled out. I know Mill Street's pretty bad, and then there were a couple other streets. Now, is there a set time within, I mean, they do that in the summer when they start patching those up?
Yeah, we've got cold patch, which isn't real good, but we try to do the best we can with that until the plants actually open up. So we've got some cold patch right now. We're trying to get in the big holes and that, but like I said,
All right.
until we get that, that's.
Okay.
Dan, could I ask, do you know, is that corner right at M15 part of village responsibility?
I brought that up before, too.
That's,
Which road?
Right at
15 and what?
M15, the corner, it's
Mill
got a
South,
big
which road?
chunk, Mill Street.
Mill Street, as you're going on to M15 North, right there. Yeah, there's a real big spot missing there.
Great big spot.
And I'm worried also about like motorcycles and all that. They hit that, you're going down, so.
That's Oakland County?
that's MDOT, because that's
Fish.
M15.
Have we reported that?
Yeah, we've reported that before, and they put some stuff in it. Is it out again, or?
It's been like that for months,
Been out that for a
Yeah.
while, yeah.
since last year, sometime.
And I think it's just getting worse this time of year.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Larry.
I will call it in again.
Good.
If not, we'll try to dump some cold patch in if it's big or something. I know it's an expense to the village, but I wouldn't want to see someone get hurt.
And I've seen some motorcycles out last few days, so.
Good
Anyway,
point.
I'm good.
You had some copies distributed. I'll pass those down to the training, General Law Village. A lot of good information. I'll pass on the link
Yeah, we
to
got
the
some.
information. I'll give it to Liz for copies, so you guys can have it for next time.
This is from your training?
Yes. That's, well, along with the other copies that you received at your desk. Came to the meeting tonight. Those are just a few of the handouts that were available, but it was General Law Village, presented by 3 attorneys. Good information.
Thank you.
I have several little things to follow up on that we can change
It's
the
good,
policy.
yeah, it's good tidbits here.
Enhance what we have. Nothing
We
else.
included, just the Personnel Committee included, we included in your pack a copy of the personnel manual for the village, plus a couple of the new ones that were previous approved. At the Personnel Committee, they requested that the rest of the council maybe take a look at it, and if there's things or suggestions you want to change, to forward them to the Personnel Committee, and we'll review that at the next meeting. So that's in the back of your book under.
Yeah, I was reading that.
When's our next meeting for that? Do we have something set up?
I don't think we set a date yet.
No.
I think so.
We were
Okay.
trying to get through because we have so many March meetings of everything else. We
Yeah.
talked about putting
Okay.
that off till April.
Just wanna make sure I didn't miss
Yeah,
anything.
good point. Well, we will definitely get that. All right, and the only thing I have beyond whatever's been mentioned is the DDA for the month of March. You have the minutes for their meetings, and a reminder that the joint meeting, next joint meeting for the Planning Commission, DDA, and Village Council is being hosted by the DDA, and that is April 10th at 6:30 PM. And that is at the Burton Center. The Old Town Hall was booked, and so we are going to check out the Burton Center that evening. All right. Anybody else with any
Excuse
committee
me.
updates?
Where's the Burton Center? Is it?
This is
the
senior
Senior
center.
But- yeah,
Senior
Yes,
center.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
the
all right,
Edna
all right.
Burton Senior Center, good question.
All right.
Oh, I wonder too, Mark.
I'm
I never
glad,
heard
thank
of
you.
that.
Yes.
She spent all the minute for.
Burton Center.
Alright.
We would've got information later, but.
You received an email last week from Matt, but definitely I appreciate you double checking that, what, I'm just throwing it, Edna Burton. So the Senior Center,
Okay.
good clarification. All right, any other committee updates at all? Are we good with that? We are ready for our public hearing. And we will enter into a public hearing at 7:25 PM to hear public comments and the input on the 2019 MNDNR Natural Resources Grants.
Any public that wants to comment?
Anybody? So, do we have any public that would like to comment on the grants at all? We have two, so you're more than welcome to comment on either one. All right. So, we hear no further input or comments on the matter of the MNDNR grant, Recreation Transport Grants, I'm sorry. The public hearing is now closed at 7:27 PM. Item number 13 is our new business, and first we have an I cannot talk, MDNR grant
Michigan Department of Natural Resources.
application resource.
Just as a reminder, we would do the best of the two, or either one we get. These are both for the same thing, the concession stand over at the park. So it's just a resolution of support, should we get, it's required for both grants, so.
And the reason why it's on the agenda again this month is because the new one that we're applying for, the trust fund grant, I did not realize that you have to have a public hearing for that grant in particular.
Well, then, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2019-0325.01, indicating the village plans to apply for a DNR Natural Resources Trust Fund grant in the amount of $25,900 with a village financial commitment local match of $11,100 of the total project cost of $37,000 for renovation of concession building at Sherman Memorial Park.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Hayden, supported by Councilman Ashman. And all in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and the second grant?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution number 2019-0325.02, indicating the village plans to apply for a DNR Recreation Passport grant in the amount of $27,750 with village financial commitment local match of $9,250 of the total project costs of $37,000 for renovation of concession building at Sherman Memorial Park.
Thank you. And we have a motion on the table by Councilman Ashman, supported by Councilman Skornicka. And can we have a vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Up next, we have the Brandon Fire Department pumper and tank purchase request.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We met with a committee, and we started this process down the road here in about May of last year, picking out a new engine and a new tanker to replace two pieces of apparatus that are 25-plus years old. That is the life expectancy that we expect out of the trucks, and we're hit the end of life expectancy on them. The committee was made up of both full-time, part-time staff. We spent the next 7 months picking out what we liked, what we didn't like, and what you have in front of you is the culmination of those efforts to select an engine and a tanker from KME through Payette Sales and Service. These trucks will replace the engine that's at station number 2 and the tanker that's at station number 1. And we expect to also get 25 years of service out of those trucks as well. All of our fire equipment and apparatus is KME. We've had really good success with them. We've had great opportunities to work together and, as you can see, save some significant funds versus our other company that submitted any kind of pricing, and that was Pierce. We did ask for 2 other companies. Both those companies refused to provide any kind of a bid. You also have attached a resolution. That resolution just shows that the township has given the fire department $1.1 million, which is about half of what that M15 property is, to pay for these fire trucks so that we do not have to raise the millage rates in order to pay for the apparatus. And also gives them, since they actually own the property, but it kind of gives us a document that says, hey, you know, if we're going to sell anything or if there's any profit to be made from that, it has to be split between the fire department and the township. That was a request that was made previously by President Wills. So, and that was some time back in September, August, September, he had asked for that. So we have all that for you. As you can see, we're paying cash up front. That saves us about $40-some thousand, $47,500. And we're saving an additional almost $280,000 by paying cash instead of taking loans out. I'll entertain any questions you may have. There's a picture of, actually there's a couple of drawings. The top one is the engine. The bottom one is a engine tanker. The tankers are what we use to carry the water, since we don't have fire hydrants. The engine will have a limited amount of water, 1,000 gallons, and the design that we're looking at, we can't get rid of our yellow. A lot of people would like to see us go to a red antique fire truck, but we like yellow. That's what we have. So, but we're going to look at jazzing it up a little bit with some black and yellow. So we're good. Any questions?
I just have a question in regards to the split of the property. So at one time, the fire department, correct me if I'm wrong, bought that property, correct?
The fire department paid for that piece of property and all improvements to that piece of property. That is correct.
And you bought it for a total of what?
There's $2.2 million into that piece of property, sir.
Okay, so you split it based off of what you purchased.
Purchased and the improvements that were added to it. There's culverts on there, so we have crossings. They did that back in 2006. I had the pleasure of having to pay for that during those very difficult economic times.
I remember that.
Where that was almost $200,000 out of our E&H budget. And we struggled, but we tightened everything that we could. But there's a reason that we didn't have funds sitting in a bank to pay for that, because we paid
Tied up there.
we paid for a piece of property that is sitting there right now. But it'll be worth it someday.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a 2019 custom pumper and a 2019 commercial tanker from KME through Michigan dealer Payette Sales and Service, Inc. for a combined total of $1,011,810 from the Township General Fund carry forward.
Support?
All right, motion made by Councilman Eschman, supported by Councilman Robinson. Do we have any further questions, comments, discussion?
Chief, when is the trucks going to be available?
Right now, it's 390 days out is what we're looking at. So it'll be a little over a year. A year and, 30 days? So we'll just see how it goes from here. I will keep everybody informed There'll be some posts every time we go down to take a look and see where the progress is. We'll make sure we get that progress posted on our Facebook page so that everybody can see that.
Sounds great. All right, can we have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Next item on our agenda is the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act Ordinance Adoption, introduced by Councilman Ashman.
It was read at the last meeting, all you gotta do is move and support it, and it's done.
So I just have a question, and I'm not afraid to say that I brought this up and I made the motion to move forward with this so is it necessary that my name be part of the motion as opposed to just adopting the?
No, don't include that, just read where it says suggested motion forward. That
It's
just
in there.
means,
It does say it in there. That's what I was
Oh.
gonna question too.
So why
Right.
would that be in there?
Right.
it's not necessary, you can amend the motion without the name in there.
So we can just put
You can make, when you make
period
the
after
motion-
village and be done with it?
And shall be
No,
effective.
you
Well, I
said,
think just
you say
and
introduce, but
introduced
take out
at a
the
regular
by
meeting.
trustee Eshman. Everything else, just take out the by trustee
Yeah,
Eshman.
that's fine, that's fine.
Okay, got it. I'd like to make a motion to approve the adoption of ordinance to amend Title Number 11 of the Code of Ordinances by adding thereto a new chapter 115 to prohibit marijuana establishments within the village and introduced at the regular meeting of the council on February 25th, 2019, and shall be effective upon publication of notice of this adoption.
Support?
Motion made by Councilman Ashman, supported by Councilman Robinson.
I have a comment I'd like to make.
I do
Any
too.
further discussion? Go ahead.
Okay. I would like to state that I still feel that we had time to do a more thorough job of researching and educating ourselves around this topic before we made the motion to move in this direction, and I'm a little disappointed that, especially in a case where the voters of our community voted in favor of a particular act, that we are taking action contrary to that expressed vote of the people, and did not take the time to thoroughly research this topic. I hope that when future issues like this come before the council, that we will be a little bit more considerate in our deliberations and take more facts into consideration before making decisions on these types of matters, because I think it's really important. We owe it to our people to educate ourselves and try to make the best decision possible for our community. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Larry.
Who next?
I just would just like a couple corrections on the resolution to correct the spelling of marijuana throughout the.
Nope, that's the way it's
That's
gotta be.
correct, even though it's like it's
That's-
titled up here
Nope,
with the
that's the
H.
way it's been blessed by the attorney, and that's the way it's gotta be in order to
Well, you
be-
don't spell marijuana throughout
It
the
is,
ordinance.
it is in the, that's the way it is, trust me.
Okay.
So then
I
I-
know it's like up there, but.
Trust me.
But,
Because I asked the same question, trust
Okay.
me.
Right, I was
Okay.
gonna say, I think we
Exactly,
asked,
gotta be
yeah.
complete.
I did educate myself, so
I did
to make a generalized assumption that the council or trustees did not get educated, I am educated on it, and the residents did not vote for medical marijuana establishments. They voted for the ability to have recreational marijuana approved.
In-home use.
That's all I have to say.
And I'd also like to comment that Lieutenant Governor, I think, explained himself very well in his experience as a law officer, and his strong recommendation also to support this motion as well, in terms of not having these establishments in our village.
Anyone
If I could
else?
reply, I think that it's not the question about whether we should not, and saying that we're, I'm just saying that, I definitely take all considerations, including Lieutenant Glover's. I just wish we had had more facts available to us and included in our packets for discussion on this topic.
I did my
Thank
research on
you.
my own time, but yeah.
I did a lot of research on my own time too, yes.
So we have a motion on the table by Councilman Eschman, supported by Councilman Robinson. And can we have a roll call vote on it, please, Liz?
Hayden,
No?
Robinson,
Yes.
Skornica,
Yes.
Bryce,
No?
Watsu,
Yes.
Eschman,
Yes.
George.
Yes.
And the motion carries on that, and that is 5-2. Thank you. Item D is our proclamation recognizing April as the Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. I'll hand that over to you, Bill.
Just like your support on the resolution. It came out of Oakland County, and the resolution was included in your package. We will be putting together a little pinwheel garden somewhere in the village to represent and draw attention to it.
Should be in front of the Ford dealership there in that corner across from the school.
The BGYA is already doing that corner.
Mhm.
So as a village, we had discussed either doing right in front of the office, which would be really nice, but to get more views, maybe right up at the sign on Mill in 10:15, or,
That'd be a good.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I thought you said you were doing it together. When I said, was that with, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you then.
Oh.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that.
so, I don't know if you guys want more visibility and more.
So we are looking to have a different location for that,
Yes.
my misunderstanding.
Village, I think it's nice
In front of the village
to, I
office.
like that idea.
Okay, and I can always get more of these pinwheels.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month and plant pinwheels for prevention garden page to show our community support.
Support.
Robinson.
I was saying, what was that again?
I got my ass out first. I
All
guess.
right.
I yield-
We have a
I
motion by
yield to
Councilman
Becky.
Skornica, supported by Councilman Robinson. Any further questions, comments, discussion? All right, can we have a vote on that, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We will move on to our unfinished business. Item A is the master plan workshop. And a reminder that that is March 28th, 6:30 PM at the village offices. You should have the agenda for that enclosed in your packet. And B will be the joint collaboration meeting, which we touched on already. That's April 10th, 6:30 PM, the Edna Burton Senior Center. And you should have received an email on that. If not, please let us know, DDA know, me know, somebody know.
May I ask a question about the special meeting workshop? Will we use the same rules of timing like we have in the council meetings, not to exceed, what is it, 3 hours?
I think
'Cause
we
I
get
know, I
clo-
think we closed it out sooner than that the last time around.
Well, I sure hope it would not take that long.
I hope not too, but there's a lot of material to cover. That's the only reason I'm asking. If we have short meetings, it's gonna take a lot longer to draw that out. So. Okay, well, that was the only question I had.
All right. Well, I know according to the procedure, the rules of procedure, all meetings would be the same time frame. I don't see anything different in there to
Okay.
So
differentiate.
this is a workshop, it wasn't a meeting, so
Right,
the workshops, we set a time so that we weren't gonna be there all night.
right.
And
Especially
For
if they're just having
obvious
another meeting,
that's
three
been
and a half
standard
hours, but yeah.
practice,
Yeah.
if we set the meetings at that time.
All right. Any other questions, comments on those, either one of those? Item number 15 is the village manager's report.
Any questions?
I'd like to, on item number 10, the safety manual, I'd like to be able to review that, if you don't mind. I don't know
Sure.
what you have there, but,
Yeah, I haven't changed anything yet, but the one thing that we know we need to change is 2015, they changed the right to know law And it had not, the village safety manual had not been updated from when I was here the last time in 2010. And there's some specific things that have changed, so I have rewritten that to reflect the 2015 law, and also done an inventory of all the chemicals in the village. And we're currently in the process of securing SDSs for everything that's necessary. And we'll go through the training with the folks, but I will definitely forward a copy of the new policy, you know, safety related to the thing is pretty much taken right off of Laura, the Michigan.
So when you do the training, do the employees sign off on that training?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and so it's a matter of record then,
Yeah.
okay?
So we'll.
But
do
I'd like
that,
to see
but-
I'd like to see the
Oh.
safety manual,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay?
I have a question. Item 11, the server issue.
Yep.
So, by any chance, was that affected because of the power outages that we've been having lately?
We don't know for sure, but what had happened actually is the computers in the office started running slow and started acting kind of goofy, and so we had someone come out or remotely check and found out that one of our hard drives on our server, it actually has 2 hard drives in there, had died. They were scheduled to come out and do that hard drive, replace it. And the day before, basically, they were supposed to come out and replace that, the other one died. So we were actually down for about a day and a half. They came out and replaced both hard drives and had to reconfigure. It was good practice on what would happen should we lose the server. They were able to reinstate everything. Like I said, it took about a day. The thing that really affected with the power going off is it was what, Liz, about an 8-hour process to upload all that stuff, and they were doing it at night.
That's when I was.
Oh, you were gone, I'm sorry. And they got like halfway through that process, and that's when we had the big storm. They lost power at their location, so it stopped the download process, so they had to redo the whole thing all over again. And so we lost about a day and a half, and we recovered everything, even with losing both hard drives they took. And they download every night, or I don't know.
So we're doing a daily backup?
So they're doing a daily backup, and they were able to take what was lost, for lack of a better term, from the daily backup time to the lost time, pull that off the actual hard drives they recovered, and even recover that data. So we lost nothing.
And we're already doing battery backup for all that as
Yep.
well, right?
Yep.
The response.
So just if I understand, does that mean that there is a UPS on that server? A UPS, uninterruptible power supply. It's usually like, you have a computer, then you got your UPS unit. If the power goes out, it's got batteries in there to keep power
Yeah.
on, so it just doesn't go down.
Yes, we have a battery backup.
Okay. And is it
Don't know how
configured,
long it is, but.
is it
we've got a battery
configured so
backup.
that in the event of a power outage, it will gracefully shut down the server?
Yes.
Okay. So then power outages really should not be an impact on it.
Internally, we don't know that the power outages that we had any impact on the hard drives.
Yeah, they shouldn't if you've got a UPS on.
The only thing that we know of is what I said earlier, where it stopped the feed.
And then how old is that server and how old is the UPS unit?
I don't know, we looked it up at the time, because it's, I want to say probably about 5 years old, but that I'd have to double check.
Okay, because I know typically UPS units, the batteries should be replaced every 3 to 5 years, because that's about the life expectancy.
Within the last year.
Okay, good. Shows I'm an IT guy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Shows I'm not.
So, Bill, I have a question on the CIP plan. You say it's got a draft version of number 6. When was that last updated?
It's probably within a couple weeks,
And then-
because, within a week or so, because it's Bob and I only.
because the majority of, a lot of the CIP stuff is streets related.
Right.
I'd like to talk to you maybe separately about the timing of some of those.
Sure.
And I know it is, I assume it's dynamic, so you're changing it and you're updating it
Yep.
on a regular, okay.
And basically what we did is just tried to do a little balancing act, you know, related to condition and
Funds available,
funds
et cetera.
available or whatever, you know. I mean, there are some that, there is a different theory, or there are some theories that we probably need to talk about, that where roads are in fairly decent shape, that for, you know, maybe like you could go out and Crescent Hill, for an example, is in pretty good shape. If you were to go out there and maybe chip seal that road, it's a little messy, but it might extend the life of that road, you know, 5 years, and it's relatively inexpensive, you know, compared to other things.
Mhm.
You know. So that's some of the
Alright.
balancing we need to talk about.
Right.
You know, Larry, you brought up a really, really good point. I know you've been IT for a very long time and everything, with your knowledge and experience. Any reason why you're not on that committee? You know, you know,
Well, I would say that it'd probably be a good idea for all of us to rotate around to different committees over time, so I'd be willing to think about that next time it's up for new committee choices.
okay. Thanks.
I also know something about streets and stuff too, so too many things.
All right. Item 16 is our public comments for non-agenda items. Is there anything that anybody in the public had for us at all? No pressure? Number 17, additional items from our trustees. I'm going to start down on your end, Colleen.
Nothing for me.
Well, one thing, I really think that we should be addressing, I think we might start doing it a little bit more like this coming Thursday and everything, is that with all these power outages, it can cause some severe damage to our household items and all that. And I think that we need to, especially since DTE is talking about doing some upgrades, you know, we really need to be addressing that as well. Maybe look at some underground cablings and that kind of thing. And that might be the perfect opportunity to take advantage of that. So,
I changed my mind, I got a question. And, I thank you for providing the attorney information, it's helpful. I was wondering on some of these, and I didn't identify them, when we're asking for a legal opinion or we're providing something to them, could we get copies of that information back to us? Like there was some information about a FOIA request, what that was and what he prepared in regard to that. Oh, there.
There was a document prepared for the 2016 election FOIA on the election results or something like that.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, if we could get some of that information to us, that would, I would like to see that. What he's preparing for us and what we're asking.
Talking going forward, or
Actually, I'd like,
asking me to go back and?
well, I mean, that one, I guess, has my curiosity, that one in particular, I didn't go through. That one, I guess I would like to see.
I guess if you've
He
got.
didn't charge for that,
if-
I'm not sure why, but.
Yeah, if you've got
A specific.
yeah, because
Okay.
that was that, I can't remember, it was a Emmy, or every clerk got a request from
Emily.
Emily, and the county got a request, and everybody and their brother, so the reason he didn't charge is because every single entity that he
Had to work with.
had to work with, had to prepare a response to them on the FOIA request, so he says, hey, I'm doing this anyway, so here it's free.
Just some of them, you know, I guess would just be, just to note, be mindful about how long we're talking to them. Some of them I think, and this goes back away,
And
this is
I'll-
just some
yep.
of them, but that's not.
And I will
specific
assure
thing.
you that, our
Get off.
Mr. Gildner claims that I shortchange him, because typically what I do is I prepare the document, and send it to him, much like I did with the marijuana ordinance, and say, I prepare the document and say,
Then he just.
proof it.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
And I do have one more item. We didn't cover it.
we already got that, yeah, so we.
The ordinance violation tracking.
Yep.
I see that we're missing some address and information here, like for the last
Yeah.
entry, 18.
Because that went out when I was in the process of writing the letter, so that letter has gone out to that location. That's the same one that, I believe trustee.
Oh, the house
Bussey-
number, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Yes,
86.
86.
thank you.
James.
And then, last but not least, okay, we have 15 items, covering for the dumpster screening and that. All right, so, I mean, I initiated all this over 3 years ago, and then we went through all last year. So what's the deadline that we're looking at holding people to, having these things complete?
Most of the people on that list, if not all, have committed to me that when the spring thaw comes, that they're gonna finish it. I mean, some of them, to be quite frank with you, there's a couple of them that were in progress and may be done, that I may have to update, so.
Do we have a deadline, though, that we're
I
setting?
have not set a deadline. I mean, if you want me to, I can.
I would like that.
I can say by
This has been
July
getting
1st.
dragged
or we're
on.
going
By July,
Well,
forward.
these are from April.
Well, no, if they pick up a permit, they got 6 months to,
they have 180.
Yeah, but that would be
Yeah, but they were-
October.
They have 180 days when they pick up the permit, and they have an option of one-time renewal for a fee. So technically, they have 1 year.
Well, I thought originally, and I don't have everything in front of me, but I thought that when we initiated this, we said we had, they had a deadline that they had to get the ball rolling. And, I mean, we had all last year, so I don't understand.
I think I remember some of the people said they were going to do things, and
didn't.
they didn't.
Yeah.
So now with the,
Our
with
choice
the
is take
deadline,
them
we,
to court.
we should have a hard deadline in place, right, Bill?
That's what I'm asking. for.
After that many days.
Well, if we have about a year, we're approaching the year, because this is April 26th of 18, so our year is right there,
Yeah, they should be right there, like, pretty darn quick, so.
So do we give like a 30-day before follow-up reminder, highlighting the ordinance, hey, your year's almost up, blah, blah, blah? Do we do anything like that to jog them?
and calling them on the phone, saying,
We
hey,
already
your
have. Okay.
permit is up, you need to get in here, call them on the phone, said, hey, promise me you're gonna get in here and get a permit, so.
So you've gone
Understood.
well above and beyond.
I'll write them a letter, tell them,
Okay.
get it done or go to jail.
And since we're on the subject, sorry, people, I sent you a text a few weeks ago with some pictures. We'll talk about them afterwards then. We have somebody that's kind of violating the ordinance, leaving their doors open, trash all over the ground and all that.
Okay.
Blight.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. All right, so, I'm finished.
I have actually two things. I'm going to piggyback on what Mark had indicated on the overhead lines and the potential safety hazard that those overhead lines pose. But not only that, reviewing the master plan, nowhere in that master plan does it say or even forecast out the removal or at least the thought of burying those lines. So that's what I said earlier. We were and we are looking at including that in our master plan so that it is on the radar, so it's not so to improve the overall beauty of our village. I think that needs to be a focus on a piece of the master plan. The second thing is I wanted to ask Bill in regards to the South Street barn shed project. Isn't the deadline coming up pretty soon on that project?
I have to double check. I know we're, the barn itself, they've started construction on that, and they were going over to check the post holes either today or tomorrow, so that's progressing.
And they picked up the permit for
They
the other
picked up
part
the
today.
permit for the other part, which I'd have to drag out the end date on when we said, but I think they had to be all done by August, was it? They had to pick up all their permits by March, I believe it was. Then they had 6 months to,
We'll have
they
to
should
look
beat the plan on the barn, because they're moving forward on that, and then the extension should start.
So they met the target of all the permits have been filed?
So far, yeah.
All right.
I'd have to double pull just to make sure, that they haven't slipped, but they've been on top of it.
All right.
The builder has been about ready to write him off on my taxes. I've seen him so much, but.
All right, that's all I have.
There are a lot.
Yeah, this is kind of piggybacking on the comment that Colleen made earlier about educating ourselves. I did go to the webinar at the library about the Open Meetings app. That was very informational. One thing that brought to my attention, which I did not realize, is this concept that they have in the legal system about a constructed quorum, which basically means we all know from Open Meetings Act you can't have a quorum of people discussing or talking about topics related to the village or deliberating. But what I did not realize is that the state law, they've ruled that if you have 2 people talk about it, and then those 2 people talk to 2 other different people about it, they can effectively create a constructive quorum if you're talking about an issue that is before the village. So I just realized that this is something that I was not aware of, and I think it's really good information. So I would really encourage everybody to try to attend these webinars, because we can all learn something new at them and get better at doing what we are doing here for the community.
So is that in the village law handbook? Where is that cited at? Because I'd like to read and know a little bit more about that.
I think, Liz, you have we have access to that
The
webinar.
webinar, we have access to it forever, so you can come into the office and watch it. I can't really email it out because it requires my password and username and password to view it. So we can set up a computer in the library, or in the conference room, and have you guys come in and watch it. It was only like 50-some minutes. I'm not sure what they cited as their source material, though, at the end of the webinar.
Okay.
Yeah, there's there's multiple pages that it goes back to. It's on the MML site. It's the Open Meetings Act, which is.
And I'm probably going to have to do that
National,
with you,
not
Liz,
just
for
state.
the next one coming up, because I unfortunately have a conflict with the next one coming up, but I definitely plan to attend the third one in April.
I guess my
Thank
point is we talk about many council topics individually via, and I mean, that happens all the time. So it's new to me that okay, if Pat says, hey, I want to talk to you about the trash or something, and they, oh, well, hey, did Pat talk about I mean, we talk about topics that we bring forth, and you're saying we can't do that. You
I'm saying
can't
you have to be
converse.
very careful,
You can't
because
converse
if you
less than a quorum on a topic.
You just have to be really careful about how you handle that, because if you converse with somebody and you share opinions and views and you decide, maybe I'll do this or that, and then you talk to other people and in the process they say, maybe I'll do this and that, that's considered deliberation. And we're only allowed to deliberate or discuss topics in order to reach a conclusion when we are in an open meeting. So that's what I found was interesting, is this one-on-one communication, if it spreads out beyond just 2 people, can, in effect, lead to a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So I thought that was important, new information I wasn't aware of, but I think it's good information. I think we should all be aware of these implications around the Open Meetings Act and how it's been interpreted by the law.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Couple things for me regarding the trash hauling project. We were able to send out, after the last meeting on Friday of that week, with a lot of hands. It was a lot of manual work. We were able to send out 400 letters and cards on Friday, and an additional 100 on Monday. So total of 500 letters and cards went out to the residents. We got back 200. There's a couple more to count, but 200's a good number. So that's 40% return, which from what I understand is a pretty good return.
Excellent.
On the specific question at hand regarding one waste hauler, 52% yes. 48% no. Of the 48% no, when Bill was helping me count, what we noticed on 8% of that vote, 8%, there were people that voted yes with conditions, the primary condition being that community was the chosen hauler. We interpret that yes vote as a no vote, and we threw those into the no pile. So had those people got their way, it would be up to 60-40. But we said we could not guarantee that indeed would happen. So anyway, that was what we had there. On the can I use the term as the public meeting that we had? Is that what it was, Tanya? What was that?
Sure.
Open house. Well, it was an open house. Nobody buying any houses, but an open house meeting. I thought it was a pretty good turnout. I thought it was 50 people. My
30.
comrade Mark B tells me more like 26. So I feel like I might have been. Colleen was there, I know, and Mark B was there. So all I could get out of that was maybe I was suffering from double vision that night, which wouldn't be the first time. So anyway, but that particular meeting was very, very beneficial also. And I'll just say this, and it's a fact. There's a real love affair in this community with in the citizens of Ortonville with community right now. And, so anyway, what the original intent went out as one hauler, one day. A lot of citizens, they wanted their right to choose type of thing. So it's open. I'll put it this way, from a personal standpoint, I'm a lot more open on this than I was when I went in. And I'll let it go at that. So, and we'll see what kind of additional information I can bring to you next meeting. I had some today, but I'll pass on that. So that's that. The second point regarding this OMA, and I've been concerned about this from the beginning. I asked Larry before the meeting, and I've asked Tanya, and I'll ask anybody. Let me get this straight. So when Judge Kavanaugh is going up for Supreme Court justice to be voted on, how come for the U.S. Supreme Court, how come they know what the votes are before anybody even votes?
Exactly.
And also, when President Trump asked for an $8.5 billion border wall security, how come everybody knows what the outcome of that is before they even vote? Does this seem like that's a violation of OMA? It certainly does to me, you know.
Well,
So,
I think they need more clarification. That's what I say. It's done at the highest level,
I'm
Pat,
stunned,
and we-
because otherwise I'll be going to
So
jail, you know.
we heard a comment. We just don't know the understanding part of that.
Actually, I
I'll let it go. I'll let it go at that.
I might be
Sunshine
able to
laws
answer
don't
a little.
apply to
I need a lot of help. That's all I'll say. And I seek you out, so I'll let it go at that.
You're in a clear, Pat. You're good.
Pat,
Actually,
before you
Pat-
pass on, as far as the garbage issue, I had people approach me and I addressed you with it, saying that we're not really doing 5 days a week of trash hauling.
That's correct.
What are you actually seeing now?
Okay, well, what it was on the 5 days a week is we feel that, and that's our fault for not making it clear. 5 days a week includes the commercial pickups in town and things like that. We got people coming in every day of the week. As far as the residential part of it, Mark, I think what was it? The gentleman that raised the issue. It is. It's probably close. I thought it was 3, but it's probably closer to 2, to be honest. We know that there's 3 haulers that come in on Friday, and that would be Advanced and Waste Management, and help me with the third one. I want to say DNR, but
TNR.
TNR is the third hauler on Fridays, and on Monday it's all community. Now, what community says, and I believe this, is right now they've got at least 60% of the village, if not 2/3 right now.
Yeah, I asked him, and he told me he was just giving a rough about 300 in the village.
And if that's out of 500 total houses, and we know there's probably less that are actually subscribed to that service because we get a few people that double up on lawns and things like that. So, so it's at least 60%, 2/3 is what they've got. So
I was not able to make the meeting. I was out of town.
I missed you.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I missed being there. Thank
Tanya
you.
did a great job emceeing, by the way. She was there, and at the front table we had.
So my question
go ahead.
is, and I've heard some rumors, and don't know for sure, that's why I'm asking this question. Is it my understanding that community said if we go into a bidding war that they were gonna bow out? Is that?
Correct.
So.
And I have
Which is
that-
really sad. They seem like they're the least amount right now.
And I guess
hate
maybe what I
letting
can
the-
do with
the
that,
little
Mark, is I'll
guy
bring that
having to
letter
step-
next meeting. I was gonna present it this meeting, but I thought it would not.
I have concerns with that, with the
I have
company that's
concerns.
taking care of the community the best.
Yeah, I have concerns too, because the bottom line, their claim is they're not gonna get a little bit. They know it, and the bigger guys can
The
do
company
it if
that's
they
been
want.
taking care of us the best, it sounds like, with
Well,
the rates.
that's my concern too, which is why personally, I'd be looking
Right.
for other options, but that's just a personal.
Well, and our goal was to find out what the community wanted, and it's basically 50-50, so it's not something that is strongly to move forward with,
Yeah,
and
the only thing that
see
is
what our other
strongly is,
options
the
can
only
be.
thing that is
and-
strongly with the community is they would like, with the citizens, is they would like community.
Well,
That much I know.
I know from my perspective, when I was thinking about that, and community raised some good points in regards to if their trucks really do put less wear and tear on the roads, that should be a consideration
I
in
would think
awarding
so.
bid. If a majority of our community is already with one service, it would be probably easier transition if we stayed with that service as long as they're competitive. I mean, they may not be the lowest bid, but I think there's other considerations too that we would take into account of before we made a decision. So I would be disappointed if they didn't at least try to put a bid in.
I would
Because I
be
think
too.
if they were close, I would
Yeah.
take other factors in
Yeah,
consideration too that could lean it their way.
Yeah, I talked briefly with Brian after the meeting, he was there. And I never spoke with Brian before or talked to him. If he was next to me, I would never recognize him. But I told Tanya I would now, because I'd simply ask members of the audience to stand up, then I would know where he was. You know what I mean? He's a tall gentleman. very tall.
Did they
Smart.
use the term bidding war? You used term bidding war, because
Well,
bidding
that's
war is
what I
different
heard.
than submitting a bid,
A sealed bid, yes,
right?
it's not.
The bidding war is, I'm going back and forth, and you to drive everybody down to where, that's different than just submitting a bid.
Yeah. And from that survey I did, there's currently there's a lot of low bids, lower bids out there. I mean, the mid-150s is a good number, 150, 155. But the other thing too out of this whole thing, and I want to get into it now, but the whole recyclable situation in this country is a mess. I really thought I was doing a real public service and, trying to get more and more recyclables, and you find out we're being shipped over to China. China the last 2 years said no, so we don't have any mechanism in this country to deal with it. So I might be going to that 192 that you're paying. I'm thinking, what am I doing this for? So anyway, but that's where we stand now, and I would like to continue with Melanie and with Bill to pursue potentially other avenues besides just a little bid. I'll say one last thing on a little bid. I was there at Brandon High School when a $72 million little bid came in, and I'm telling you, on that last job, that was atrocious. That was atrocious. I wasn't in my particular room. I'm surprised it never caught on fire. There's loose wires hanging all over the place. They had an AC unit in there that never worked. I took a picture one day of 7 guys standing in front of it trying to figure it out. I should have called you, Mark. You would have got it going. But anyway, so I'm hoping on that we're open to other possibilities. Bill, should we hold off and stay with one of those possibilities would be, or I can wait?
It's up to you.
There's always ordinances that you can write. That's all I'll say.
Right.
Okay. And
So the
Colleen,
goal is to continue
Colleen,
to
would you
research.
would you at least consider something like that? I know that. Well, we're in a public meeting. We can
Right.
talk.
You can talk about it.
No, I would be. That's all.
But
That's I'm only speaking for
An
myself.
ordinance that we would allow 1 day of trash pickup.
Right. That'd be
versus
one
Going
thing.
to a single,
Right.
going to a single day trash pickup,
Right.
designate that as a first step, which
And
most
I
of the
know-
communities that we talked to kind of did that. First step was to say, okay, to eliminate the blight, just 1 day pickup. So that, because 1 day becomes 2 days.
Yeah.
So when you're picking up 2 days of trash, people tend to put their trash out the night before or whatever. So now you got garbage cans sitting out 2 days. So it's really trash
4
cans
days.
sitting out 4 days a week, So from a enforcement standpoint, you're going around saying, oh, okay, do they have community, or do they have da-da-da-da-da? If you have one day a week, it's easy. Trash can should be out Sunday and picked up Monday, and boom, you're done.
All right, so thank you,
Okay,
Pat, for the
that's
update.
it. Thank you.
I hate to, I don't, if it's not on the agenda, I don't want us to go into discussion, deliberate on it.
I
I would love for you to share and keep researching and
I
put it on the
I
agenda next
profusely
month so we
apologize.
can talk about it.
Okay.
We can talk, we just can't take action.
You're giving me a lot of support, Pat.
I don't know, that's a gray area. I'm afraid to go across it now.
I'm seeing double.
We're
again.
good. Well, mine will go real fast. Couple of things. The things that were important here, everything was. Overhead lines, it's a great issue. We have to address that, and we are. Dumpsters, get that. It was nice getting the rules and procedure, and in Tanya's words, how did you say that? Put the rest or put the bed?
I
That's
think
good.
so. I don't remember
You
saying
know, something like that. But it's nice to get things off our table.
off the plate, yeah.
So dumpsters, the overhead lines, and my last thing is for Shelby. We had really good news today. We're saving the taxpayers a lot of money in the lighting side of it. If we could get a little blurb in the paper, $7,000 is a lot of money. So we're all doing it, and
I think it's,
it's each and every
7,800,
quarter, it's more
wasn't it?
money. So that would be
Over
great.
how many months?
Everybody could feel good about that. That's all I've got.
Is it 10 months?
Thank you. Much appreciated. All right. Could we entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support?
Adjourned at 8:16.
All righty, yay.
Wow. This is a record.